Hey, hello everyone, welcome back to another LSB video. Now, today we are going to be doing a little bit different than what I'm usually doing, but a ranking, my first ranking. This will be on the arcraiders maps. Now, with new ribbon tides and everything, toss a whole bunch of stuff in, but I will be ranking all of the maps on three categories: PvP, resources, and PvE. So, with these maps, they have very unique amplifiers as well, such as electromagnetic storm, like lush bloom, all that type of stuff, sometimes exclusive to only them. So we're going to be going off of those as well, putting those modifiers on, and whether we kind of change it or not depends on that. However, these are just minute bonuses that you get from having more modifiers or better modifiers. Overall, we'll just be ranked on the base map. So this won't be like we're basing our ranking of Stellamontis on only its Night Raid, or we're basing Dam Battlegrounds off of its Lush Blooms, primarily. It will be about the base map, and then modifiers kick in as kind of a smaller bit to it. Now for the three sections of PvE, resources, and PvP, they will be ranked like this, following up with PvE. So this will be basically how sporadic they are, how often it can happen, and pretty much the same with PvP. How often it can happen, how sporadic it is, and like kind of density, I guess. And then for resources, this will tie down to your, like how good it is for early game start, and then for continuing resources you will always need to build up on. And then also for some of the currently going projects, those types of resources will also be taken into consideration for this. So, without further ado, let's get into the video. And if you guys found this useful, please do leave a like and subscribe. And if you want to see me play any arcraiders, do go to my Twitch, down in the description. But let's get right into it. So, PvP. This one is definitely something that some either really look for, or some that people don't look for, or some people are fine with having. Me personally, I kind of am fine either way, if it's there or not. So, basing off our maps, we'll start off with the PvP Central, kind of the stereotypical king of PvP. Not so much anymore in my opinion, but has been for a long time, Stellamontis. Now, Stellamontis, I would give it, out of 5 stars, like we'll be ranking everything else, I'll give it a solid, say, 4 stars. And that's with modifiers included and everything. Night Raid obviously bumps it up. Day Raid would normally, I'd give it around like 2.5 to 3. But Night Raid definitely is more around like a, yeah, it kind of bumps it up around 4. More or less, because the amount of PvP you run into, there is next to no talking if you're in squads. There's always shoot on sight, even in duos. The only time you might get a blissful moment of rest from people is if you are to more or less be in solos, but even then, like I said, that's a very blissful moment that you should probably cherish, because you're not getting many of those. Now, for its resources. Overall, on resources of Stellamontis, I would have to say that it gets a solid 4 out of 10. So the reason I say 4 out of 10 is because it gives off a lot of high-end components that you can scrap down into magnetic accelerators, that you can scrap down into Exodus modules, batteries, advanced mechanical parts, assorted seeds. And there's also very, how do I say, very kind of niche loot spots that you wouldn't see on other maps. Like the Seed Vault, if you're looking for assorted seeds, is surprisingly, or I should say to no surprise, a really good spot to be looking. Now, for, you know, Seed Vault aside and everything, the other spots, when it comes down to it, is like medical research. This is the kind of big hot spot, which does bring down the map's ranking a little bit because of the fact that the resources are like primarily in medical research. And yes, I know assembly is also good, but it's a red spot. Most people, like, everyone sees red and goes for it. No one is exactly gonna just go for assembly and be, you know, over the moon about that. They'd be more over the moon about going into medical wing, because that's where all the good stuff is. Now, with that all being said, like I previously said, advanced mechanical components, You get certain Exodus modules, all that stuff, and I guess even resources that are for quests, it's very abundant in. Overall is, like I said, a 4 out of 10, strong 4. Now, PvE. As a whole, Shredders are, well, they're kind of terrifying if you're new, but if you understand how to kill them, they're very, very easy to kill. Very easy to knock out. All you do is shoot, like, literally one of their thrusters, or just dance around a pole and start whacking them with a pickaxe. It's super easy to kill Shredders. The only part, maybe, is when there's a pop, fireball, and a Shredder, and they all get you at once. That's when you might die, but even then, that's not too bad. So, and even loading bay included, with, you know, obviously your bastion and all that, that's just a strip. Obviously, you can go around it if you want to get to the other side. You just need to find the battery cell, and all that. So, yeah, I would probably give it about, yeah, I'd say a, like, 2 out of 10 on PvE. There isn't really a whole lot of, like, robots there, and also, like, with there not being a whole lot of, arcs there, you don't exactly get all the core components you need. And with the Shredder being on every map now, you don't have to just go to Stella Montis to get your Shredder stuff. So, as a whole, that is my, kind of ranking for, Stella Montis. I will put them all in a list at the very end of the video here. But, to the next map. Now, Blue Gate. Blue Gate is another PvP map. I wouldn't say nearly as bad or nearly as frequent as Stella Montis. I'd say it's got a decent, healthy amount of PvP to PvE ratio. PvP-wise, I'd give it a solid 3 out of 10. I give it a 3 out of 10. Night raids and storms and all that included. Locked Gate might bump it up to 3.5, but that's not for me at least, so I keep it at a 3. Now, for its resources. Resources are kind of abundant there. So, mechanical parts, everywheres. When you're looking for any sort of, like, mechanical parts, metal parts, basic parts, it's abundant in it. High-end parts, not so much. That is where I would probably drop it down a little bit, is yes, it's got a very healthy spread of components, but they're not high-end, and there's no, like, dense high-end component area, at least to my knowledge. So yeah, I would probably have to put it around, give or take, yeah, I'd give it a solid 3 as that. For its PvE, it's got a lot of PvE there, a lot of arc, high density amounts of it, whether you are inside the checkpoint or whether you're outside on the mountaintop, there is hordes of arc. I would dare say you've got also a very good variety to get your arc parts needed. So overall, I would probably put that as, yeah, I'd probably put that at like a solid like 3.5, 4 out of 10. We'll give it a 3.5. On to the next map. Now, here we have it. Buried City. This place, PvP wise, it can definitely be a bit of a stomping ground. It can be a bit of a hairy mess, or it can be a wonderful time where there's like no people trying to shoot anyone. Whether you consider that wonderful or not, up to you completely. But yeah, it's very much a coin flip on how the interactions are gonna go. For that, and even night raid included, and storms and hurricane, all of that, everything included, it's still a coin flip in my opinion. I would probably have to give it I'd have to give it a solid spot in 2.5. Yeah, I'd give it 2.5 stars. Now, for its resources. Resources on Buried City are very well done. The hospital and the space travel are very good for a wide variety of parts, whether you need commercial, medical, or any, like if you need, commercial, medical, or technological, those have all 3 of those modifiers between them. And personally, commercial, technological, all that, very useful. That's how you get, high-end blueprints, all that type of stuff. Which, yeah, is Definitely nice, to say the least. Also, Buried Cities is one of the only places that have a red medical area, therefore making it a very high sought place, I guess. Yes, a very high sought map for Vitaspray. But yeah, overall, I would give it in the resource department a solid 4 out of 10. There is some things that bring it down. It doesn't bring you any like a lot of high-end stuff. In those density pockets, it gives you a lot of really good parts and some high-end parts, but not a whole bunch. Now for its PvE. PvE wise, Buried City's got some like dry spots almost. No pun intended for its PvE. So it's got like in Murano Park and places like that. It's got or not Murano Park, the park in the center. I forget its name. Maybe I said it right, but right there you've got like a Bombardier Bastion or a Rocketeer. You got all those guys there, but sometimes in like alleyways or even just in open stretches of like area, there's just nothing. So for that, it definitely goes down a bit, but it does have a wide variety, and it also has a very good amount of Sentinel spawns compared to other maps. So, for the factor of it getting a decent variety, I would have to bump it up to somewheres around, I would say, a 3. Now, to the next map. So, Spaceport. Now, this is kind of a hot take on it, but without modifiers, both on a day raid, the PvP is equal to that of Stellamontis. But with modifiers, I have had, personally, a lot more PvP interactions on Spaceport for night raids, scrutinies, matriarch, all of them, than I have on Stellamontis. So, for that, and I'm just saying this is up to date, I would have to give it a big whopping 5 out of 10. Every time that I would say I go on there for a night raid, or if I go on there for a storm or scrutiny, I'm always watching my back. Sometimes you run into the odd few pockets of nice people on scrutiny or matriarch, but it's decently few and far between. And solos definitely helps a lot, but when you're in squads or duos, and even still sometimes solos, it is very much a sketchy, quiet area where everyone's got snipers, everyone's in air traffic control towers, everyone's either in the arrival building. It's very, very sketchy when it comes down to it. And any loot room could be like life or death in there. It is like so sketchy. Like I don't even know how I could like put it into a sensical word of how terrifying it is sometimes when I go into control tower A6 with my key, thinking there might be someone in there. But yeah, overall, 5 out of 10. Resources on it, very widespread, a lot of commercial, but it does have a solid amount of also industrial loot, which I will give it that. It's got a decent bit of red spots. I'd say like one of, if not the most like red spotted area on the game. And for that, I would probably have to give that a 4.5 out of 10. The only thing that I'd say that brings it down is the fact that the map is so big, and to kind of traverse from like say the commercial wings to the industrial wings, you have to go across the map. Because left side's usually the commercial, and then right side you would get into your high-end industrial. So that is a little bit of a pain, but overall, like, that's about the only complaint that I have to say, is the long travel. With obviously it being a big map, can't really change that. Now for its PvE. PvE on Spaceport is, in the center by the launch tower. It is absolutely, I would put that up around, like, you know, 4.5, 4, somewhere's around there. But on the other spots around it, like the outskirts, like outside of the walls, I would probably give that, like, I'd probably give that like a 2, like a 1.5 or a 2. So when you're taking the whole consideration of it, like, if I were to put it all in, I would probably have to give it a solid 3 out of 10 for its PvE. The PvE is, like, in a sense, lacking also variety of robots. Personally for me, when it comes to Arc, I have seen more or less just a lot of Avian Arc or the turrets. Sure, there is the Bombardier and Bastions here and there, but they're few and far between comparatively to how many Avian Arc there are. And also just Surveyors everywhere if you guys want to go for Surveyor vaults. Anyways, on to the next map. Now, the new guy, Riven Tides. This one is definitely an interesting map. The rankings are gonna be a decent bit surprising. So for PvP, I would say it's off to a pretty good start. I'd say, off of my experience in solos, squads, and duos, overall, it'd be probably a 3.5 to 4, because when you're going to places like the apartments or something like that, like I got into a gunfight the other day, for example, where it was pretty much a 4, there's 5 squads including my squad, and it was chaotic to say the least. Managed to get out of there. I've just never been in a situation that chaotic. However, how frequent that is, not so much. Yeah, overall though, like, when it does PvP, it's got, like, a lot of PvP, for where it's at. Now, that's not to say that it's always PvP. Like I said, there is some droughts there we can just run through. And, another place, shipping yard or scrap yard, that place is also another PvP-centric area with, on top of those cranes, people like to hide in the little catwalks and shoot down on you a lot. So yeah, that would probably bump it up for me in the PvP category around 4. Even modifiers included, everything. For its resources, it is very much, I'd say, the worst map in resources. With obviously how small it's being, and, you know, even beachcombing included, the resources aren't really all that there when it comes down to how much, like, stuff you need for quests or for early game or for even consistent resources. It's kind of lacking. It's more or less a spot that you go for other stuff rather than resources. I would give it around 1.5 out of 5. Now for PvE, however, it is very cram-packed with PvE. I have seen everything from all the way down to ticks, all the way up to vaporizers, to turbines everywhere, everything. It's just a constant, it's a fight for your life when you're on Riven. And heaven forbid you go outside, because then there's going to be a squad of a vaporizer, turbine, and rocketeer along with, like, 10,000 fireballs upon ye. Overall, I would say PvE, it is, I'd say 5 out of 10. It is very jam-packed with variety, and if you're looking for art components, I would recommend going there if you're looking for a broad spectrum of parts, or even just a dense amount of a singular part. Now, for the next map. Here is our final map, the stomping ground, the early game, big king in my opinion, Damn Battlegrounds. This right here, probably the most balanced map, I'd say. PvP wise, it's really, like, how do I say, you don't run into it all the time, but you can run into it a decent bit when you're evacing out of, say, example, water treatment, or when you're evacing at a testing annex, you can run into that. But there's so many, like, situations where you're also not running into that, because, you know, it's the starter maps. It's very weird with how people treat it. As a whole, though, for PvP, and how dense it is in its pockets, I would give it around a solid, like, 3 out of 5. Yeah, I give it a 3 out of 5 on PvP. For resources, it's actually very well distributed. I'd say one of the best as well for resources. Up there with, like, Stella, and up there with Spaceport. Now, would I dare say that it's crazy for all of its resources? No, I wouldn't say it's crazy. As a whole, though, early game, I would recommend it, easily. Hands down, recommend that map. Early game for any of your resources for tables, anything like that, or early projects that you're trying to do. So yeah, with that being said, I would probably have to put it around 4.5. Only thing I have to say about it is it doesn't give off enough high quality resources for it to be a 5. So yeah, that would be resources. PvE. PvE density, I would give that a solid, I want to say it right now, I'd give it a solid 3.5. Actually, I'd say 4. I'd say a 4 out of 10. Or 4 out of 5. 4 out of 5 on the PvE. Because here's the thing, if you go underground in the tunnels that connect you pretty much from power complex all the way, or power generation, all the way up to like research and admin, then you're not really gonna run into anyone. Or, well, any arc, I should say, aside from maybe the occasional pop, and when you get to that broken, like, bridge area, or broken, like, tunnel area, maybe a Rocketeer floating above. But when it comes down to even just going in the swamp, or going down to Red Lakes, PvE isn't really prevalent there. It's more or less when you get to the actual dam infrastructure itself that PvE becomes more prevalent. However, that isn't to say it's got a really good variety and dense pockets of it when you do get to it. As a whole, 4. Only thing is those dry spots on the left, right, and around more the outskirts nature area as a whole. But yeah, and for the final segment. Now, I had forgot to factor this in as well, is a big thing, blueprints. So I'm just going to kind of run through each map. Stella Montes for blueprints, 5 out of 10. Every time I run in there, I usually get a blueprint, like a high quality blueprint, or I can get upwards of like 6 blueprints. So yeah, it's a 5 out of 10 easily. There's so many areas like cafeteria, as you've seen in my previous videos. All that, like there's just so many opportunities at blueprints. When it comes down to Blue Gate, I would say blueprints are a solid 3 out of 10. I go in there, sometimes I get a good lucky run with like 1 or 2, but a good few times I run it with nothing, even out of its loot rooms. Then it comes down to Buried City. Buried City, I would give that a solid 4 out of 10. I go into there, loot rooms are jam-packed with blueprints. And even doing the red areas. However, if you don't do red areas or loot rooms, then it's kind of bad on its blueprints. You can still get some, but it's not as prevalent. Spaceports. Spaceport's a pretty solid one in its loot rooms. That one, including even outside of the map, like its red and yellow areas, I've gotten a solid, at like typically around 1 blueprint. Every like 1 and 2 matches I do, I get a blueprint to go back home with. So I'd say, yeah, it's another 4. Then you've got your Riven. Riven, very bad loot for resources and blueprints across the board. I mean, there is some you can get that are exclusive to it, and they're pretty prevalent, like the Descender and all that, but aside from Descender and the Crash Mat, I haven't really gotten a whole lot of blueprints. So I would probably give that around 2.5. Now, for Dam Battlegrounds, this map right here, well balanced, as I said. The blueprints for that, roughly, because I do get some blueprints, don't get me wrong, I do get a decent bit of blueprints when I go into the red or yellow areas, so I give that about a 3.5 out of 10, because there is some times that I just don't get any blueprints or any good blueprints when I get one. So, final part, the list, the ranking for all the maps. As a whole, here it is. This is my honest ranking for all of the maps. I personally don't see anything too wrong with them. Adding up all their scores and pretty much averaging them is what I did. And yeah, I feel like it's pretty solid with their placement. But, like I said, if you guys found this helpful, please leave a like and subscribe. And hope to see you guys in the next video. Have a wonderful day, and bye-bye.